As I said, I was playing in bands in school, and I was struggling as a kid and not doing well academically, and I mean, really poorly academically. And I was having trouble adjusting and finding my thing. All I wanted to do was play music, and I was failing a lot of classes and just not doing well at all. And I think I was actually skipping a class and just hanging out in this hallway one day, kind of later in the sophomore year, probably spring of sophomore year, and hanging out with my band members in the hallway. And I remember this little lady walking down the hall and just turning around and saying, "I'm directing West Side Story. I'm the theater teacher, I think, and I'm directing West Side Story, and you look perfect for the gang members. Come and audition for the play." And then she blew off down the hall, and we just looked at each other and laughed. Nobody really took it seriously, but I thought, I'm gonna go check this out. So after school was the audition, and I went, and I saw all these pretty girls going in there into the audition. So I followed them in, and I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what an audition was or anything like that, but they handed me a script and said, "Read this part," and told me to get up there. And so I'm like stumbling through, and I really wasn't taking it seriously at all. I was just goofing off, and I thought, and the kids were laughing at me. So I just goofed off a little more, and then they laughed a little more, and I thought, well, this is fun. And I looked up at one point, and the teacher was laughing. She was kind of getting a kick out of it. And so the following morning, I don't know, were you ever in a play in school?
No.
So you audition for the play, and then everybody shows up to see if you're on the list and if you got cast. The cast list is posted on the board, and everybody's crowding around. And I remember getting there, and there was a big crowd around, everybody looking to see if they'd made it. And I looked for my name, and there was my name to play this little part in West Side Story. So I got in the play. She gave me a little part. And I just fell in love with acting and fell in love with, she was wonderful. She was unlike any teacher I ever knew, because she really talked to the kids like they could really have a good time. And she was funny, and she was also an actress. So she was performing, constantly for the kids. And it was fun. It was unlike any teacher I ever had, and I just loved her. And I loved being in the play. I remember closing night for the play, I just burst into tears. I was so sad it was over. But then the following year, I went back, and the first play that they were going to do, I went and tried to get in it. Ended up not getting in the play, but I raised my hand and volunteered to be on the stage crew. And then the next play I auditioned for, I got a big part in it, and then I got another big part, and then I got another big part. And it just took off from there. I became one of the top theater kids for the rest of my schooling. And when it came to, this was 1973 when I was supposed to graduate. I had done a ton of plays, and in fact, as I mentioned, so many of my classes I wasn't doing well in, but the teachers actually would see that they would come and see me in these plays, and they could see that I was like on fire on stage and doing really great. So they would find ways to grade me for what I was doing in the theater department, to give me a better grade in their social studies class or whatever. They would tell me to talk about the play, and then I would, and they'd give me a grade for it. So they were really trying to help me, because they saw that this failing kid was now excelling in something really positive. But when it came to time to graduate, because I had been so bad with so many of my classes, I didn't have enough credits to graduate. So I had to go back for an extra semester. So my class graduated, they all went off to college, they did their thing, and I had to go back to high school. So I felt, even though I knew kids from the theater department that were in the class that was coming up, that I was now going to be a part of, still I felt kind of like a bit of a failure. But the first play that came up, I auditioned for it, I got a big part in it, And it made that extra semester worth worth going back for, because it was a really good show, and I got a really good, got a lot out of it. And that sent me on my way into the acting world.
Now, were you a believer at this time? Were you church-going family, or
No. No, I was baptized in a little Christian church when I was, little, on the south side. But then my parents really stopped going to church. My grandfather and grandmother, my grandfather was very Italian. He was 100% Italian. And he married my grandmother, who was not Italian. He was Catholic, she was Methodist or something like that. And so they really, I don't know, their parents were mad at him and something. And they stopped going. So my mom and dad, really didn't bring me up with anything. I remember going to Sunday school a little bit as a kid, but no, it was later in life that I found my faith, and all the way through high school and all of that, there was nothing.
Well, you made some really sweet friends in high school that took you from the high school, and then you started something incredible. When I read it, I thought, I can't believe he started that. After you graduated, what happened?
So going to college, I thought about trying to get into a theater school, but then the idea of going to college wasn't appealing to me. So I started a little theater company right out of high school, and we called it Steppenwolf Theater. And I got together with some of the kids that were still in high school, and we found a space, and we started doing plays in there.
Was it in a church you started?
Well, originally it was in this little Unitarian church that my parents knew the architect who had designed the church. And I said, do you think they'd let us use that to put on a play? And they gave us a key and said, go ahead. So we'd go in there at night and rehearse our play, and we did our first play in the Unitarian church 50 years ago in 1974. And
it's still going, isn't it?
Steppenwolf is now it's a Chicago institution. It's a gigantic multi-theater complex on the north side of Chicago. It started with little kids, no money, nothing, and it's an institution now, very well regarded all around the world. A lot of great actors have come out of there over the years.
Take me back to those days when you were just starting, and some of the stories that happened there.
I go all the way back to the beginning. Like I said, I didn't want to go to college, but I wanted to keep doing the plays. And I loved the kids that I was doing plays with and everything. We just found a space. We found this Unitarian church. We picked a play, and we went in there and started doing it. Then we did another one. Remember the musical Grease?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the second one, and I directed it. I was in it, and I produced it with about $1,000 of money that I had earned working for my dad. And then we did another play in there, and then we found, that was 74, and then in 76, my buddies who had kind of worked with me, they had gone off to college at Illinois State University. And that's where they met John Malkovich and Laurie Metcalf and Joan Allen, all these great people. And so we put a small theater company together. It was still called Steppenwolf, and I found an empty basement of a closed down Catholic school that was perfect to build a small theater in. So in the summer of 1976, they finished college. They came up from Illinois State. It was downstate. They came up to Highland Park, and we went into the basement of the Catholic school, and we started doing plays in there in 1976. And not for any money. Nobody got paid anything. We were all working other jobs. We just do our theater at night, go work our day jobs, then do the theater at night. And if you go to Chicago now and you see that, and you see the gigantic complex, the seeds were planted years ago by a bunch of kids. And it really is a great American, just the great American dream story of starting with a passionate idea, working hard, and building it into something special.